to my wife named Jenna for about a year now. We were classmates in school, but we barely knew each other back then. However, we reconnected at a school reunion, ended up sitting next to each other by chance, and that's how our friendship deepened and led to us dating. Jenna's a reserved and kind soul, not much of a talker, but she always smiles and listens to my endless stories. Time with her feels warm and peaceful, and imagining a future together just came naturally. After dating for 4 years, we got married at 24. Our quiet happiness continued, and we recently celebrated our first anniversary. I'm an office worker at a company, and Jenna's a nurse. We planned to meet at the restaurant where I proposed, after work on a Friday night.
Sorry, I'm a bit late. I changed clothes in the department store restroom.
About 10 minutes past our meeting time, she showed up in a beige dress. She always goes to work in casual clothes, so she must have decided to change into something more fancy after work. No problem. Let's go in, shall we? I obviously love the everyday Jenna, but being out with her, all dressed up for a rendezvous after so long, makes me a bit nervous and excited. The food and drinks are just as delightful as they were a year ago, and chatting together feels even more enjoyable than usual. Celebrating our first anniversary in harmony filled me with joy, and I expressed my feelings by giving her a modest but heartfelt bouquet. It was a bouquet abundant with baby's breath, Jenna's favorite. I'm not usually one for romantic gestures, though. I got the idea from a celebrity couple who swear by anniversary flowers as their secret to a happy marriage. It was embarrassing, but seeing Jenna's happy face made it all worthwhile. Here's to many more years together. Laughing together, we concluded our anniversary dinner. Filled with immense happiness, I felt that together with her, we could overcome any future challenges or expand our family. But soon, as if to test our bond, an unexpected trial arrived much earlier than anticipated. It was about a month after our anniversary. As a worker in sales, I finished my last meeting around 3 p.m., and got the green light from my boss to head straight home. Excited to return early since Jenna also had the day off, I sped home in my car. While waiting at a red light halfway home, I considered sending her a message, but a playful desire to surprise her by coming home unexpectedly took over, so I didn't reach out. Instead, I stopped by a coffee shop, picked up 2 of her favorite donuts, and continued home. When arriving at the intersection just about 10 minutes away, by a traffic light where I waited, I saw a familiar face. It was Jenna. Maybe she was out for a meal with friends on her day off. Watching her, I was shocked to see her holding hands with a man about her age, looking quite happy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and rubbed my eyes, looking over and over again, but it was unmistakably Jenna. Fixated on what was happening, but with the traffic light turning green and honking from the cars behind me, I had to keep driving, telling myself, Jenna wouldn't have an affair. And focused on the road. But I was certain I saw Jenna walking hand in hand with another man. Struggling to make sense of it all, I parked in a nearby park's lot and sat alone with my thoughts. Still, my mind was a mess, and I concluded that I had to see her reaction and observe the situation before jumping to any conclusions. When I got home around my usual time, Jenna greeted me with her usual smile.
Hi, you're home.
Yeah, I'm home. I was caught off guard by how normal everything seemed. Wasn't she feeling any guilt? Or was she able to look this normal because there was nothing to hide? They were holding hands. There's hardly an innocent reason for adults to do that. The more I saw Jenna acting naturally, the more confused I became.
Today, Mia's grandma sent us a bunch of asparagus, so she shared some with us. It's asparagus party time,
Jenna cheerfully announced as she headed to the kitchen. Mia is Jenna's best friend from school days. I also knew her since we were in the same sports club back then. Oh, she did? When my responses seemed distracted and lackluster, Jenna looked at me curiously.
Aren't you happy? You like asparagus, right?
Yeah, I am. I'll be sure to thank Mia. I hurriedly replied. That meant Jenna was with a man earlier, so did she meet Mia too? There was indeed a lot of asparagus. Had I been mistaken? Or had she meticulously prepared this to deceive me? Doubting her as she smiled and prepared dinner pained me. I think I still wanted to believe in her. In the end, we finished our meal as usual and spent the evening just like any other. She was thrilled with the donuts, acting just like her usual self. The next day, after leaving for work, I messaged Mia about the asparagus. Did you really meet Jenna and give her asparagus yesterday? I asked, thinking it sounded casual enough. Soon after, she replied.
Yes. Jenna was so happy because she knew you'd love it.
Jenna hadn't lied, after all. I couldn't imagine the righteous Mia helping Jenna cover up an affair. Thinking it must have been a mistake on my part, I tried not to dwell on it further. As days passed, Jenna remained her usual self, and our peaceful routine returned. Gradually, I forgot to doubt her, and it felt like we were back to our tranquil everyday life. However, I saw something I shouldn't have again. The weather was lovely that day, so during my lunch break on my outdoor rounds, I decided to have lunch on a bench in the park. I usually sit on the bench in front of the fountain because I come to this park occasionally. But as I got closer, I noticed a couple sitting there. So I sat on a bench in the shade, about a distance where I could see the fountain. While eating the lunch Jenna made for me, I thought, it would be nice to eat lunch with Jenna like this in the park. As I was thinking about it, I glanced at the couple sitting on the bench near the fountain. At that moment, something unbelievable appeared in my field of vision. Jenna. I couldn't help but let out a gasp. It was shocking. Yes. There she was, sitting affectionately with a man I didn't recognize. Her happy smile that I often admired, directed toward him. I couldn't believe the sight, but there was no way I was mistaken about seeing her. In fact, it was unmistakably Jenna. While my mind went blank, the two of them stood up and walked away hand in hand again. Was she so engrossed in that guy that she didn't even notice me nearby? It would have been easier if she had just been honest about changing her feelings, instead of trying to please both sides. Along with my sadness, a feeling of unforgiveness welled up inside me. After somehow finishing work, I returned home at the usual time. There was Jenna, who seemed to have just returned, saying,
Hey, I just got home too, so I'll hurry up and make dinner.
How can she act so normally? Maybe she's been deceiving me for a long time, and lying has become second nature to her. Where have you been? I asked, and she replied.
At work, of course.
She works as a nurse at a clinic and is always working on weekdays. I knew that, but I saw her walking in the park with a man during the day. It seems like she doesn't feel like talking honestly. She's just trying to deceive me at every turn. I had enough of her insincerity and said, You don't have to lie anymore. She looked as if she had no idea what I was talking about and asked.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I couldn't stand her act any longer. I presented the papers I had prepared and said, I can't trust you anymore. Please leave. In my hand was a divorce petition.
What? Why? What do you mean you can't believe me?
She looked like she was about to cry, completely bewildered. It's amazing how tears can come out even when you're not sad, isn't it? While I was thinking that, I just couldn't bring myself to explain myself out loud. Maybe you should take a moment and think about it. I won't be coming back home tonight. With just those words, I left the house. Just a short while ago, we celebrated our first anniversary, looking forward to our future together. I never imagined a future like this could come. Full of despair, I stayed at a nearby hotel that night, and went straight to work the next day. There was no contact from Jenna during that time, but around the time I finished work, I received a message.
I've thought about it, but I can't find anything that would have made you this upset. I'm sorry if I've unconsciously caused you distress. Sam, I want to be with you, and I'm willing to work for it. So, I want to meet and talk things through again properly. Please contact me anytime. I'm really sorry.
The message was very much like Jenna, conveying sincere feelings. If only there wasn't the reality of her having an affair. To commit such a betrayal and still lie. I just couldn't understand what she was thinking. If she loves that man enough to smile so happily with him, she'd be better off without me. But maybe it's not good to keep running away without having a discussion, especially since we're supposed to be a couple who can talk about anything. I started to think more calmly and considered things from that perspective. What I saw, what I felt. If I talk about everything, maybe she will be honest with me too. Still, knowing there was an affair, I can't imagine living like before. With that thought, I replied, "Okay. I'll come home tomorrow." She replied with a
Thank you.
And I stayed at the hotel I had booked for the night. The next day, I was meeting with Jenna after work, so I worked a bit nervously. There was a business meeting near the park I had visited the other day, and out of habit, I went to that park. After arriving, I regretted it with thinking, I should have avoided this place, it only brings back bad memories. But since I had already parked, I decided to quickly eat and head back, so I went to the usual bench. As I approached the bench with my lunch bag from the fast food restaurant, yet again, I saw a couple sitting there. My heart skipped a beat, and I felt like I was going to lose my breath. I calmed my racing heart as I walked past the couple, and sat down on the bench I had occupied the other day. Hesitantly, I looked at the couple's faces, and just as I thought, it was Jenna. My mind went blank. After I had confronted her with divorce, seen her tearful face saying she couldn't believe it, and after she had apologized for everything, saying we'd talk again. Yet, here she was, looking happy in the midst of an affair again. I couldn't understand what Jenna was thinking at all. A mix of sadness, anger, and various other emotions surged, but the sheer incomprehensibility of her actions may have also instilled a kind of fear. Then, it was the man who stood up from the bench first, leaving Jenna sitting there alone. Unable to hold back any longer, I stood up and walked towards her. As I grabbed her arm and demanded, "What do you think you're doing?" She responded with bewildered.
"Oh! What do you want?"
With a suspicious look and a distant demeanor, was she making a fool of me? I was confused. That's absolutely my line. But as I spoke, I noticed something felt off. Somehow, she felt like a stranger to me. Surely, the person in front of me was Jenna, but something seemed different. "Are you not Jenna?" When I said that, she looked a bit surprised and then said,
"No, I'm not."
That could have been taken as a clumsy lie from her to get out of the situation, but what made her words seem more truthful was that her aura, although her face was almost identical to Jenna's, was completely different. Moreover, upon closer inspection, there were moles under her eyes and on her chin that Jenna didn't have. "Oh. I'm sorry." Had all the times I thought I saw Jenna recently actually been this woman? Or was it just today? My mind was in turmoil, but the fact that I had mistaken her for someone else was undeniable. Moreover, to grab a stranger's arm and confront her so aggressively, I wouldn't be surprised if she called the police. "Sorry about that. I mistook you for someone else." As I sincerely apologized, the woman made a surprising remark.
"Well, do you perhaps know someone who looks a lot like me?"
I immediately looked up upon hearing her words. "Actually yes, my wife looks very similar to you, and that's why I mistook you." Upon saying that, she shared a surprising story. She introduced her name, Sophia. She's the same age as Jenna and me, and works at a company near this park. Sophia has a fiancé, and he was the man who was with her until just a moment ago. They often meet like this during lunch breaks because he works at a nearby company. It turns out that the person I saw in this park the other day was indeed Sophia. Besides, the person I saw at the crosswalk a few months ago, considering the circumstances, was also her. Hearing all that, I was filled with immense regret. I had mistaken a look-alike for my wife Jenna, and without listening to her, I had assumed infidelity and unilaterally pushed for divorce. I should be the one apologizing, but I know that the hurt I've caused Jenna won't easily heal. What have I done? I was so filled with regret for my actions that I muttered that to myself, forgetting that Sophia was there. Then she said,
There's something else I haven't mentioned.
"What is it?" I asked, barely present.
I have a twin sister who I've been separated from since we were little.
She revealed. What? Shocked, I asked for clarification.
I was born a twin, but I hardly remember her because our parents divorced when we were 4, and we haven't seen each other since. The divorce was messy, and our parents didn't let us see each other. I've lived not even knowing if my sister was alive. But I've never forgotten about her, not once. I've lived my whole life wanting to see Jenna again.
She said so with tears in her eyes, making it hard to believe she was lying. Does that mean Jenna is Sophia's sister? But I've never heard Jenna mention that she has a twin.
So, if your wife is my sister Jenna, it's understandable that you mistook us for each other. We really do look alike.
Hearing that made me feel slightly better, though it didn't change the fact that I had jumped to conclusions and hurt Jenna. As we talked, it was time for both of us to return to work, so we exchanged contact information and parted ways for the day. I wasn't sure if Jenna would forgive me, but I decided to apologize first, and then tell her about Sophia's story when I got home. When I arrived home, Jenna was there with a worried look on her face. Seeing her worried expression made my heart clench, and I immediately apologized. "Jenna, I was wrong. I'm truly sorry." When I suddenly offered a heartfelt apology, she looked at me in surprise. Then, I told her everything without holding back, about my suspicions of infidelity in meeting Sophia. After hearing everything, she seemed perplexed but first said,
Thank you for telling me. You don't need to apologize. It's my fault for not telling you about my estranged twin sister. I'm really sorry for the way I've made you feel.
"No, Jenna, you don't have to apologize. It was wrong of me to jump to conclusions. I'm really sorry." We spent some time apologizing to each other, finally connecting over our misunderstandings. And for the first time in a long while, we were able to truly laugh together. Then, Jenna also shared her side of the story. It was exactly the same as what I had heard from Sophia, confirming that they were indeed twin sisters. Jenna didn't tell me about her twin sister not because she wanted to keep it a secret, but because she was raised by her mother with the words, "Think of your twin sister as if she no longer exists." I can say from meeting Jenna's mother that she is a wonderful person. It's hard to imagine such a kind-hearted mother saying those words to Jenna as if trying to erase a part of her past. But I suppose it goes to show just how messy her divorce was. Yet, like Sophia, Jenna never forgot her twin sister, and had always hoped to meet her. While sharing that, she was moved to tears. Seeing her like that, I couldn't just stand by, so I suggested we talk to her mother about meeting with Sophia. Initially hesitant, Jenna seemed to have decided to follow her true feelings. Later on, with her mother's approval, a reunion with Sophia was arranged. Jenna and I went to the usual park. We arrived quite early for our appointment, but Sophia came to the meeting spot about 10 minutes early as well. They really are twins. Seeing both of them together for the first time, I thought to myself, and they immediately embraced upon reuniting.
I'm glad to see you're doing well,
Said Sophia, to which Jenna replied.
I've wanted to see you for so long.
And she started to cry. Almost at the same time, Sophia started crying too, making me think. They really are twins. They were completely engrossed in their own world, chatting away happily, leaving me feeling a bit left out. Yet, seeing Jenna's smile made me genuinely happy, and I realized that without meeting Sophia, I wouldn't have been able to sit on this bench with such a peaceful feeling. Reflecting on that, I was truly happy to see them both so content. Since then, Jenna and Sophia started meeting frequently, and a few months later, we were both invited to Sophia's wedding. Jenna was moved to tears by the sight of her twin sister's joyous occasion. A year later, when Jenna and I had our child, Sophia often visited us, sharing our joy with tears of happiness. Not being a twin myself, I can only imagine the depth of their bond, but just witnessing it fills me with joy. The period when I suspected infidelity was not a happy time for either Jenna or me. However, if overcoming that obstacle was necessary for us to find this happiness, then perhaps it was a struggle worth going through.